Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mortgage Tech Talks. I am your host, Tom. With me, of course, is Massimo. This is the first time. Oh no, I was going to say it's the first time it's just the two of us in a while. But we did one last year. Last week we did one quickly while I was on my pad leave. But now I'm back fully. This is my second day fully back, and it feels good to do the podcast. I mean, the show had to go on last week, so we got it in. This week back to normal, so it feels good. Good to be back. I'm only waking up 1 to 2 times a night right now with the kids, so I'm feeling pretty good. Is that good? I don't know the stand. I don't have a lot of friends who have kids, so
Wrong guy to ask, but yeah, that,
wrong
yeah,
guy
to
to
your point,
guess.
yeah, I don't know, but
Yeah.
from what I've heard of friends and family, that is quite good, especially early on. Like I feel, well, maybe
I
people
don't
are just being dramatic. They typically make it sound like, well, every 2 hours, and if night is 8 hours, then that's 4 or 5 times, right? So
We've talked about this, but it's hard for me to nail down what people are truly experiencing because some people are kind of masking it, say, "Hey, I know everything's good," even though it's not good, and then other people, it's almost like a badge of honor and be like, "Oh yeah, we're getting no sleep, hardy har har," and it's like so. Some people like to exaggerate that way, so I don't know the truth of it, but good to be back, and I think this time off that I had is inspiring this episode, and you're about to take some time off. I think you've mentioned to the audience a couple times how your
yeah,
face is gonna look. This will be. Is this gonna be the last one we have? As
with this face, yeah,
yeah, with
I
this.
guess so.
Wow,
It's not
take
going to
it in.
change that much, at least I hope. But yeah, it will change. So yeah, take it in, take notes,
Oh yeah,
or
soak it up.
photos, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, Mass, you're taking time off. I just took some time off, and so following that theme, we're going to talk about today how, as a mortgage broker, so we obviously in our role it's not exactly the same, but there's some parallels, but more so working with our clients when we've seen people trying to take some time off. We have clients who, well, we do have some clients, like I know one person who lives in the Philippines. That's not quite taking time off, but working remote. I know
Mm.
people who took like a month off in the Bahamas, just kind of going through how you can manage that. It's not going to be perfect, right? There's always going to obviously there's things that you do on a day-to-day basis as a broker that's going to fall a little bit as you take time off. But I think the goal of this episode is talk through some of the best practices we've seen. So you're not getting pulled away on your phone, right? Trying to sit on the beach, drink a Mai Tai or a daiquiri, whatever drink is your drink. And, your phone's just buzzing and you can't leave it. And you end up spending the whole vacation in your hotel room, which I know for a fact that's a real experience for many brokers and probably for a lot of people listening is getting pulled away. Because, yeah, the reality is you're kind of a solopreneur for a lot of people. The buck stops with you. And so if you're taking take time off, that means things will slow down. So we want to talk about, okay, how can you, without doubling or tripling your team and doing all these very expensive things, what are some quick wins to really get your time back, especially as it relates to vacation and time with your family? So you kind of see the same thing when you talk to people, Mass, in terms of getting pulled away and their phones and different things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I can think of a handful of brokers that have done like extended like 3, 4 months. I think as we've mentioned in the pod, I'm dealing with more advisors and I'm seeing a couple of them too. But I mean, in short, we've all been there. I know Tom, you probably have, I have, where it's like you're constantly in your inbox. As Tom mentioned, we're not perfect, but we've come up with a lot of ways and I think we're like 10 times better than we were 3 years ago. So, and I think a lot of brokers are at that point where they haven't even tried any of this stuff. So it's also hard mentally when you're so invested in the business to turn off. And
Yeah, I think
so,
that's a good point too, right? It's like
yeah,
some people don't want to turn off, and I don't think that's what we're recommending necessarily.
no,
Hey, you got to turn off, you got to put your phone away, you got to do that. But I think it's about setting expectations for yourself, your family, if you're going on vacation with your family, with your clients. It's not going to be exactly the same as it was when you're just sitting at your desk all day. So you can still answer those emails, and if you enjoy that and it works for your family or whoever you're with, do that. But I think the tips we want to share is just, okay, how do you manage that a little bit better? What are some things you can get in place? So yeah, you can still answer those emails if that's, something that you're mentally prepared and wanting to do, but just being able to manage that a little bit better. First one, you actually said you were talking to a client just last week about this. One of our favorites, well, was Steven, right? So we had
yeah,
a,
yeah,
we had the
yeah.
episode with Steven 2 weeks ago, and then I don't know, I guess you guys got to talking and this came up. And so it's obviously very relevant and something that I know has come into play. When I took some time off, we collected a lot of our leads this way. So it's a method that we do ourselves. And what that is online forms. So it sounds simple, maybe a little bit and what I mean by online forms is like a Google form. Everyone's filled out one of those in the past, but getting those set up and then in a way integrated into your process so that the whole really kind of first few steps of that lead process are somewhat automated, right? It doesn't have to be completely automated. Some people want to have control over that, but really basics. And so what I would say is like the table stakes in terms of that basics would be someone fills out the form. So let's say, I don't know, but it's typically your realtor. This is a form you can share with your realtor or past clients, maybe put on your website. That information gets sent to you, and then probably an automated response, at least to the realtor or the person who filled out the form, saying thanks for submitting it. And here's the first step of the process. That's pretty low risk, pretty low stakes, and it can at the very least keep your pipeline moving while you're gone. So you don't have to feel that obligation to, oh, I got a referral, I got to quickly respond and make sure that they know they're getting the best service. You have that a little bit on autopilot, and that's going to make you not chained to these referrals, but allow you to dictate your schedule a little bit more.
For those of you that listen to the Steven podcast, communication is key. And like, you shouldn't have to be the bottleneck in these situations. Like,
Right.
if you're off, you can have a form that communicates to the realtor that you got it, communicates with the client that you got it. Might seem silly when we say it, but I bet you if we took a poll of our listeners, or just brokers or agents in general, a lot of them don't have these things. They just get referrals via email or text message.
I
And
think I think
those
a
are the
lot of people
worst
get
when you're on
texts.
holidays,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
the texts. Like,
yeah.
it's
Well, I think
it's
it
hard
is,
not to
right?
look at
Yeah.
those.
So yeah,
um,
and you look at it, and okay, yeah, I got this text, and for me at least, and I think for a lot of people who work with, you can't, yeah, like you said, you can't turn that off.
yeah,
It's like, okay, I'm supposed to be, I don't know, watching a limbo contest, but all I'm thinking about is
yeah,
that text I got, right? And so if you can train your realtors, and they'll probably prefer it to the realtors instead of sending that text and
yeah.
be like, oh, I know Tom's on vacation. Do I text him? But I really need this. If they know they can go to that form, get it, and at least get the ball rolling, that's going to give them the confidence. And at the very least, make sure, okay, if they don't want to bug you on vacation, they know you're on vacation, that they don't go to someone else, a competitor, maybe a bank or something like that, and risk them going there a little bit more permanently. You can keep that relationship alive and well and thriving, give them the first few steps. And like we said earlier, if you automate those first few steps, that's maybe as far as you need to go. And then maybe you get back to the hotel room that night and you can call the client or you can call the realtor and say, hey, I'm on it. You can still have that personal touch that you like, but you're just setting up these forms and these processes. So you're, like you said, not being the bottleneck.
Yeah, totally. One thing just came into my head for any iPhone users. I've been tinkering with this because I am one. They have this new thing called workflows in the iPhone software, and you can actually set up workflows to auto respond via text when certain texts come in from certain people, or when you hit certain locations and stuff. So if anyone's interested
Interesting.
in that stuff, people are blasting your phone, you can set up some automations, or they call it workflows.
Like, how sophisticated is it? Could you respond or can you do other actions like, hey, take the body of the text and put it into
No,
a
not that
note or,
sophisticated. No,
okay,
but
yeah.
you can respond all kinds of other things actually in it.
I'm on like some old version. I'm on like iOS 5 or something like that.
Yeah,
So
you
I
might
don't
not
think
have it. I don't know.
I don't think I have it. No, it's interesting, and I think as you're pulling that up, that can piggyback, right, from what we're saying to say, okay, hey, someone texting me, they don't know you're on vacation. You could set up that workflow that immediately responds, hey, I'm on the beach or whatever right now. I'm still checking my phone. If you want the ball rolling, you want to get the process started, fill out this form. It's going to get you off on the right foot, right? So these things aren't mutually exclusive. Just because you do one thing doesn't mean you have to not do something else. They can actually work together pretty well.
Yeah, so it's not as sophisticated as what you're saying, but it can use your location. So when you arrive, like at the
Mm,
gym or home or whatever, it can auto send responses to people when they text you, or it can put your phone in do not disturb. If certain people text you or email you, it can send a response. So it's
okay.
pretty cool. It's actually
Yeah.
called automations, not workflows. Sorry.
Automations. Okay.
You can kind of see it looks like this automation. So check it
Okay.
out. Yeah, the next one that I think is relevant for brokers, and I think a lot of them do it now just because of COVID kind of forced them. I think we had a podcast on this too, but if you're not, you should. Doc collection. Like,
Mm,
that is
yeah.
probably usually so automating that, like allowing someone to upload into a portal, upload them in certain spots, like T4 goes here, this goes there. When you get to that stage in a deal, that means it's probably going to move forward and you're actually collecting some stuff. And so you definitely don't want it to stall in your inbox for 2 weeks. That's another easy one. And there's pretty much all the LOSs do it now. Scarlet, Velocity,
Yeah.
Finmo.
We had that
Uh,
episode where we talked about
yeah,
each of them doing it. And
yeah,
yeah, I think it comes back to the bottleneck. I think, a general principle we have, vacation or not, is if there's going to be a step in the process in which another party, so the realtor or the client or whoever is going to be the bottleneck, get to that point as quickly as possible. Because, in the scenario, you're the bottleneck up front because you're, let's say, on vacation, and then you take a week, you get back, and you say, okay, well, now I need to collect docs, and then it's going to take a week or two to get their docs. You've just stacked up these bottlenecks together, right? And now what could be much quicker is taking many weeks. So instead, if you can get, and maybe it's a form or maybe however you get there, that client to the point where they're actually gathering their documents, which is usually the longest step for them, it's going to save you a lot of time. And now the client and the realtor aren't bugging you because that's in the client's boat. They're doing their thing. They're collecting their docs. You can enjoy your Mai Tai. And, it's, I've brought that up a couple of times, the Mai Tai.
I'm more
So,
a pina guy
yeah,
personally.
yeah. Yeah, I don't,
Coconut for the win.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with like a long straw or something.
Yeah.
Have you ever had the fresh coconut where they chop it off with a machete and you just,
When I was in Costa Rica, we were at the hotel we were at. We actually got that every morning, and it's funny. Like I was drinking, it, I'm like, this is different than the coconut juice or
it's
whatever
better
or
than
water.
The Buddha, what is
Yeah,
it? The
way better.
quiet
So I
Buddha,
don't
what's
know
it
if
called? Or I don't,
yeah,
is Buddha
thirsty Buddha,
something?
I think.
Thirsty Buddha, okay, yeah,
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 but
okay.
it's definitely
Yeah.
better. So I don't know what coconuts they're using for thirsty Buddha. Probably not the greatest. But anyways, yes, I have
Anyways, we
tried it.
digress. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. So, if we can get, you can get the client to the bottleneck now, yeah, you don't feel as guilty to be on the beach and things are moving still, right? Those things that do take time, the deal is moving along. It's just in the client's boat. But I think there's also reality with this. So I think with those two, automate where you can on the lead side, on the document side, that does make a lot of sense. But I think there's also, we're definitely not at the point, I don't think we will be for a very long time or it can be fully automated, right? So there's a point where it's like, okay, we still have to have those interactions. You still have to write the deal. You still have to maybe answer some questions, exchange some emails. It's always going to be a reality, right? So let's talk about email first, because I know a lot of the brokers we work with still live and breathe like their
Living.
email
Yeah.
inbox is their lifeblood, is their entire deal pipeline, which is fine if it works for them. Talk about that, right? Like, what kind of have you seen the best practices? Do you just kind of like leave it and then it's this crazy stressful thing when you get back? Do you kind of check it every day? Are there any kind of, I guess, cool tech, in the theme of the podcast, of course, tech tips you've seen people doing to manage their inbox better? What have you seen?
Well, I mean, one thing I'm playing with, and I mean, this is a simple one, a vacation responder. Have that on when you're gone, so people know you're
Yeah,
gone.
okay.
That's not
That's
really cool
table
tech,
stakes. Yeah.
but yeah. But what I'm starting to do is actually turn it on before I go, letting people know I have one coming up. I think it was Dave from DLC that told us he does that
Oh, yeah. I
a
don't
couple
know. I
years
haven't.
ago.
Yeah,
And
okay.
so I started doing it. And I mean, it causes a little bit of people freaking out and booking time with you before you go. But then I think it reduces the pain while you're gone or helps. So that's another thing, just turning it like a vacation upcoming alert. And then when you're gone. But I mean, one of the things that people should look at, and I'm pretty sure all email providers do it, is having some way of having a shared inbox. So you're not the only one who can access it. A lot of you have
Yeah.
teammates or colleagues that could at least fill in for you. And there's always high priority stuff that comes in. And there's some risk to that. Maybe you can talk to that. But we have that. We actually have it in a more advanced format. We actually use a desk software or a ticketing software. And there's a ton of
Yeah.
benefits of that. But at the
Yeah, I
very
think
least,
it
have a shared inbox. Yeah.
yeah, I think I kind of escalate it in terms of, different things. So you can do the most basic, which is literally like, hey, to your assistant or whoever's maybe filling in, here's my login. Just go into my inbox and start
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
around
True.
with it.
Yeah.
And that obviously comes with, I think, risk that speaks for itself. So,
Yeah.
but it's also the easiest, right? I don't have to do
Mhm.
anything. Just, hey, here's my login. Go have fun. Next level would be something similar to what you're describing, where some of these email providers actually have tools where it's like, hey, I want to share my inbox. I want to
Like
be able to do that.
delegation or whatever.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think delegation. I mean, we use Zoho Mail, of course, and we've had the ability to, okay, this colleague can actually access my inbox, but all they can do is reply to emails. They can't create a brand new one or something like that. So that gives you the next layer of privacy. Still not great because they can maybe see everything. And then the third level would be using maybe a CRM or, like you said, a desk tool, which aggregates all those emails that you have and puts it in a spot. And the benefit for that is, yes, everything's in one spot, but you also get that level of clarity of who's doing what now, right? And so I haven't seen a ton of brokers doing this, and I think
No.
it should be used more than it is. But just to quickly describe it, you get in there and you have your assistant, and they can see that email and leave a comment and say, "What do you think?" And then they respond, and then you respond. On your end, you can see that full transaction, that full history. Whereas on the client's end, it's just like they're having a conversation with you. So with those three levels come, probably increasing work, but decreasing risk, right? And so it's just about finding that balance for you and what makes the most sense. But it's a matter of doing something for sure. And I think for us, of course, we see a lot of people doing it with the CRM too, where all emails can sync up to the client's profile. Your assistant can log and see all activities and then maybe leave some notes. Hey, Tom, I know you're on vacation, but can you just chime in on this one thing?
Yeah.
And so it's not that you open up your inbox and it's this massive hurricane. It's targeted, right? Your assistant or whoever might be helping you at that time can say, okay, there's 100 emails that came in. Here are the five that you need to look at, right? That makes things a lot more manageable.
Yeah, and I mean, we probably moved to a desk, at least for our sales, what, 2 years ago now or 1 year ago?
Yeah, so no, two,
I
I'd
don't know.
say two.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
too. And it really changed things in terms of our response time because now we have three people looking at it. We all kind of piggyback on each other. So we're always like helping each other like we're out of office per se during the day,
yeah,
every day. Like anyone can answer the email as long as they know what to answer. So it's a great way. And there's all kinds of automations and reporting and all kinds of stuff you can do if you want in these desk tools. A lot of people when
yeah,
they have like info ad or sales ad or support ad or underwriting ad, that's when you should kind of put it in there when it's less personalized already in terms of the
right.
URL or the email
And that's
address.
what a lot of people do, right? They have an info ad or a sales ad, but it's just everyone's in Gmail, right?
Yeah,
So if you take
yeah,
that extra step and get into one of these tools, just you have all those added benefits that we talked about. And it does, whether it is just an info ad in Gmail or one of these desk softwares, if you can implement it for your vacation or just on a regular day to day, lets you get those reps in
yeah,
to say, okay, actually, when my assistant responds to the client, it's actually not so bad, right? Some people have that control, and I know actually I'm a lot like that, where oh no, I gotta have the first email, or I have to send the email. There's a very specific way I ask for docs, but you learn pretty quickly that someone who can help and can get you 80, 90% of the way there pretty quickly. And so if you're
yeah.
okay with losing that last 10%, which I think you should be, most people should be, you can save so much time and a lot of productivity with that.
Having someone like a trusted colleague to work on this stuff, like obviously this industry has licensing, like not everyone can answer a mortgage email and they can't give rates and all of that. So that is something to, I mean, this isn't an innovative tech solution, but that is something to think about and not enough people do, where it just kind of sits in this shared inbox or whatever, and you may not have someone that can actually answer the email with relevant information to what the client's asking. And
They aren't
I know
even
some
like, yeah,
brokerages are trying to solve that.
like a deal desk, right? We had a
Yeah,
deal desk episode. Yeah.
yeah,
No, I think that's right. It's like, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is more like transactional intro email, answering quick
right,
questions. That's something an assistant could do, right? Okay, I'll just come in
yeah,
and do that. But there's also the part of it that's actually writing the deal. And I think if anything, we talk about, okay, maybe you enjoy that work, or maybe you're okay with putting in an hour after the beach and, getting it in. If anything, I'd say prioritize this part of it, because that is truly the part where as a mortgage broker, you're providing a ton of value, and it requires a license, right? Of course, to do these very specialized underwriting activities. And so, yeah, you can prioritize it there. But like you said, a lot of people do end up saying, okay, well, no, I'm actually fully off. I'm climbing the mountain. My phone's not even going to be on. How do I keep these things moving? And yeah, we've seen kind of these two things. Hey, my best buddy, they're just going to log into my inbox and I'm going to co-broker the deal with them and it's going to be great. Or, yeah, like you're saying, these bigger brokerages more setting up these deal desks where you can kind of just send it in, say, hey, this is whoever, can you help me, can you help write this deal? And they have these kind of centralized hubs. They take a bigger cut for it, of course, but you have that confidence that it's going to kind of see its way through, and it's someone who's licensed to do it is going to do it right, because of course the brokerage, your interests are aligned, right? It's not that you're just sending it to some random person. It's a brokerage who also has the same compliance obligations as you, and you're on that same level of how you want this to be accomplished. So that's why these deal desks really work, because those incentives are aligned. Do you see one more than the other happening? I think historically for me, I've seen, hey, my buddy's taking over, but I think these deal desks are starting to take off a bit.
yeah. I was gonna say like we're hearing about it a lot more, and we've been hearing about it both ways, just agents telling us and also brokerages saying, hey, can your tool help us do this deal desk? And I mean, I think it has other benefits, which we talked about. And so that's why it's getting some steam, but it's a great way to do it. And you're probably going to give your buddy a cut anyways. If you
Well, yeah, if
co-broker,
you
it might,
co-broker,
yeah,
of course,
yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah.
And maybe these deal that I don't know this for sure, but I mean, usually the buddy obviously is incentivized financially, but these deal desks have like salaried staff or whatever in there. They know they can get it done. So I would personally, I kind of lean more towards that if I was a broker, I think, just sending it there for the couple weeks or whatever.
I mean, I think, it's kind of tough, I would say, because, I think a lot of people actually, yeah, like I said, historically have done my buddy will take care of it. But I think there's a couple pitfalls with that, and we're getting a little out of the realm of tech, but just to kind of get there for a sec, number one is it's not like a system. So maybe it is like tech, right? You can build a system, and that tech system can interact with that deal desk, and that becomes a repeatable process, right? And I think
Right.
that's something, we've talked to guests and a lot of our top brokers, that is a key to scaling any type of business, is having a process. If your process and your systems are set up that whenever you go on vacation, oh, just Sally will take care of it, that's not much of a system. What if Sally's gone, or what if Sally changes industries, or whatever might happen with Sally?
Right.
Then you're kind of out of luck. But if you have a system and a way of doing it consistently, that allows you to scale. And I would say the other big thing too of it is, then you can be critical, right? If Sally does a bad job, you don't want to give her a hard time. She's your friend who did a favor, whatever. But if it's a commercial arrangement that you have with these deal desks, you can be a lot more transparent and have those really much more honest conversations. So there is a lot of those types of benefits of being with a standardized commercial agreement that has clear terms going forward, right? And I think that, yeah, overlaps tech, but also just relationships in general for you as a broker. Let's
Yeah.
talk about them quick, right? So what's the
Yeah.
quickest win? We've talked about four things. Let's rattle it off and see how quickly could you do it. So we'll talk
Me.
about it and give me a time frame. So doing a Google form for someone to fill out with an autoresponder email. I think Google
Yeah,
Forms is
that's
free,
yeah,
right?
it's quite quick. A couple hours of your
And
time to you only have to do it once and then you're
okay,
good, right?
so let's call
Yeah,
it 4 hours, half a day there. Automated
the
dog
doc
collection.
collection stuff.
That's maybe another couple
Half day.
hours here. I mean, depends what you're
Yeah.
using, I think, right? If you're using something like Finmo or Velocity or Scarlet, or even Boss, a lot of them already have it. I think it's just
Yeah.
turning on the
Yeah, you
feature,
just
right?
buy the tool. Yeah.
Getting used to it and building the
Yeah.
trust, obviously that's important, but that's pretty quick. So I'm going to call that another half day maybe there. And
Yeah.
so we're at a day right now. Shared inbox. Let's do the quickest possible version, which is literally just sharing your login with your
Password.
friend or whoever, your assistant.
That's
So
real
that's
quick.
like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're still at
Yeah.
like a day. And then signing up for the deal desk. Let's go with that. And again, for a lot of these people, it's pretty straightforward. You do probably have to get an agreement. There's probably a standard agreement, review it, make sure that's good for you. So probably another couple hours there. So the day and a half, you can implement four things, and it's just going to make that time off that you're planning that much better, right? And it's
Yeah.
building these systems in place that serve you now and into the future.
Totally. Yeah, and the first two, like you build them once. Like the
Yeah.
form you build once, the doc collection you buy Finmo or Velocity or whatever. Now you're gonna have it forever. The other one you got to share your password. Well, the deal desk is probably forever too. So yeah,
Yeah.
these are like scalable things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So yeah,
yeah,
it's a day and a half for that first vacation, but vacation
yeah,
number two, it's already there, and three and four, and you'd be surprised. Maybe you end up going on vacation a bit more because you say, okay, well, that wasn't so bad, right? I wasn't chained to my desk, which would be interesting. So, well, I think that's as good a place as any. I guess any final thoughts on that mess in terms of, well, you're about to go on vacation. Anything that we missed that you're going to be doing over the next? Well, you're not actually not vacation. It's a jaw
I
surgery.
guess, yeah, time off. We're personally utilizing all of this except for the doc collection because that's not really our business. We have a shared inbox. We have the most hardcore model that we were mentioning. Trusted colleague, that's going to be you in my situation. Form for referrals, we have that. So the only thing I'm going to toy with is that Apple workflow thing. I want to try it. I have this bad habit, or maybe it's good. I don't know. Anyways, I text people a lot of our clients a lot, and they're going to be
Hmm.
texting me when I'm away and not know I'm away. So yeah, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
test that out.
No, they have like pre-baked ones. Like there was the one where it's you're driving, right?
Yeah,
Where someone texting, okay, boom, I'm driving. But
yeah,
it sounds like you can customize it, which would be cool. So let's leave it there. Day and a half, get it in, and take that time off that you deserve. If anybody has any other tips that they really, really relish when they go on break, please feel free to leave some comments. Love to hear it. And as always, thanks so much for watching and listening. Bye for now.
See ya.